This is my burn story. I had a 3rd and 4th degree burn when I was 9 years old. So I'm going to start. I did write it all down. So if I look down, it's because I wrote it down, because sometimes when I start talking, my brain goes a million miles an hour and I forget where I'm at. So I wrote it down. So, okay. So I was 9 years old and I was born in Maryland, but my dad was in the military and we transferred to Washington State, where he retired, and he bought some property at the base of Mount Rainier. And so he decided he was clear cutting basically the entire property, which means he had bulldozers and he was, making it livable for us. So he had been at work that particular day, and it was just my older brother, my younger sister, and me, and then my mom. And my brother had gotten into trouble kind of all the time because, that's just how he rolled. Mm-hmm. My mom told him basically, go outside, don't come back in the house until your dad comes home. And it was only supposed to be like an hour and a half. We grew up on a wooded area of 360 acres, but my parents really basically only owned 3 acres. But because there's only 2 other houses, we kind of like ruled the roost. So my brother was out doing his thing, and my dad had burned huge brush pile. Like, it had logs, it had not logs, but it had stumps and brush and all that good jazzy stuff. So it had been burning for probably a week. Like, when I'm talking burning, I'm talking like, huge, massive. And about 3 or 4 days it had been raining. So therefore the fire was out. My dad had said, guys, don't go near it, stay away from it. We were like, okay. So when my mom told my brother to leave the house, go outside, she ended up leaving. I don't remember where she was going. I really don't remember, but I know that she left. My grandparents were in their house, which was directly behind our house. Now, for context for that, my grandparents are British. They literally only had been in the United States less than a year, I think about less than a year. And they, 911 was new. Nobody really knew about it. Like, it was out, but people were kind of like still sketchy about like, how does this work type of a thing. So after my mom left, my brother comes to the house and says, hey, do you guys want to go see where I talked to my younger sister and I, do you guys want to see where I was going to start a fire in case it started raining? We said, sure. We left the house. We followed him down to the front yard to the burn pile. Now, yes, we were told not to go on it. Yes, we should have listened. No, we did not. So we proceeded to follow my brother. So it was my brother first, then me, and then my younger sister. We started walking on the logs, from like this. And I got to one log and the logs were wet. So as I stepped on the log, my foot slipped and it went into the ashes. Now on top, it looked like it was cold. Underneath, it was raging fire. This is where you want to plug your ears. No, you don't. No, you don't have to plug your ears yet. No, yes, you do. You might want to. It's up to you guys. Okay. So, no, actually, you'll be fine. So, it went in and I screamed like very loud. My brother is about 5 years older than me. He literally turned around, picked me up and threw me, I think like 10 feet. Like, he threw me. Got my younger sister off. Now the adrenaline is like rushing through me. So I'm like walking, kind of, sort of, but not really walking, but walking. He gets me to the house. My grandfather heard me scream. If that tells you anything, blood curdling scream. He came running over. My brother was like, let's call 911. My grandfather was like, no, understandable. He didn't really understand it. He's new to the country. It was new. Understand. Yeah. So my brother ended up calling a family friend. Now, mind you, there's no cell phones. So we couldn't call my mom and say, hey, mom, you need to come home. Obviously, that wasn't an option. So we called a family friend. She was a registered nurse. She lived down the road. She happened to be at home. And she said she didn't really understand the severity of it, but being a nurse, she just was like, get her to the bathtub, find a clean, white, your dad's undershirt, get it wet and just put it on there. She was doing, the right thing, but she didn't realize the severity of it. My brother ended up calling my dad, and
now at this point, is it burning? So you put your foot in there.
I could kind of feel it. Okay, you might want to plug your ears for this one, guys. It in a nutshell, yeah, plug your ear. If you're queasy, plug your ears. So in a nutshell, it melted my shoe, my sock, the skin, the flesh, and the nerves and some of the muscle completely off. Like you could see all the way through. Like it was, yeah. Okay. So I could feel certain parts of it, like maybe underneath, but not everybody. But you also have to remember adrenaline is like pushing through.
Yeah.
So we called my dad. My dad came rushing home. At the time, he was about 20 minutes away. He was on the military base. He came home. Now, of course, it wouldn't take 20 minutes. It would take like a good hour, hour and a half because, you know, very busy. So my dad picked me up, took me to the hospital with my grandfather. And this is where this is amazing. At the time, the #1 burn surgeon in the country was actually at the hospital, but he was at the helipad because he was on his way to the Air Force Base where he was going to catch an airplane and go home. And they brought him back to the hospital.
Wow.
They got me in the back. And now, you know, little kids don't like shots. It's like a hard no. You're like, absolutely, you know, little kids. And they brought me in the back and they said, if this hurts, we'll give you some medicine. But again, I couldn't feel anything to save my life. Like I couldn't feel anything. And they were doing their best. I remember there was one nurse, he took the latex glove and he blew it up and he'd do faces and he was like trying to distract me. And I remember like hitting it back and forth. And they were literally, again, plug your ears if you guys are queasy, with tweezers, they were literally picking off everything that was dead. Anything that was in their shoe, sock, everything. Pulling it off. And they proceeded to do that. And then once they got that taken care of and they wrapped me the best that they could, they then moved me to the pediatric ward where obviously I stayed the night. Obviously I stayed there for quite a bit. And then every single day I would have nurses that would come in and they would have to change the dressing. They would have to put ointment on it. They would have to watch it. And I remember just being there and watching the nurses literally their face go pale white. Like I got to a point where I could memorize it. I could look at it and go, they're about to fall. They're about to fall. My 9-year-old going, they're about to fall. It's because they literally would like just pass out because of how gross it was. Now, I never saw it. I wasn't allowed to. Obviously, very smart. So they're not traumatizing a 9-year-old. But they just kept doing that and doing that every day. I know I was in the hospital for at least a month and a half.
Did they ever do graphing or anything like that?
It's coming.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So one day the doctors had said to my dad, we're going to have to amputate her leg. And my dad said, what do you mean? They're like, there's no feeling in this. We have to amputate it because this is going to cause an infection. She had a 3rd and 4th degree burn. We're doing what we can do, but we have to amputate it. And my dad said, can you please just give her a little bit more time? Can you please? And the doctor said, I can give her 24 hours. He goes, if she has no feeling, he goes, we have no option. We have to do this or an infection could kick in and it could obviously kill me. Mm-hmm. And he said yes. And so obviously during this time, my parents were praying, church was praying, all the, whole shebang. And that night, so what they did is they didn't want like things on my foot, like putting a blanket on my foot leg was just too much pressure, even though I couldn't feel it. So what they did is they made this box like this that went like this, and they put my foot in it. And then so I could still have a blanket, but nothing was touching my foot. So in the middle of the night while I was sleeping, they came in and they basically poked the bottom of my foot with a needle and I jerked back that night. So the same day that my dad said, please don't, they came in that night and stabbed me. Well, yeah, basically they stabbed me with a needle and I yanked my foot back. That was the first time I had feeling in my foot. They said, I think like in like a week or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So that saved me. So once I had the feeling in my foot, then it came down to, okay, now we got to talk skin graft. Now we got to talk surgery. How are we going to do this? So now they were bringing in more doctors from around the country to really figure out. They brought people in from Children's Hospital, just to try to figure out how we're going to do this. And they decided they were going to do a skin graft, but they told my parents there was no guarantee that it was going to stay. And if skin graft would not hold, wouldn't stay, wouldn't, grow, then they were going to have to amputate my foot. So no matter how it went, if it didn't work, it was still good. My leg was going to get amputated.
Right.
So it came down to it. They did do a skin graft, and they put it all over my foot. I was not sedated, Penny, but I did get medicine. They definitely, oh, that's one thing I forgot to say. When I was in there getting in the emergency room, I remember saying to them, okay, I need pain medicine because I could feel something at some point. And my dad said he knew at that point that it was severe when I had asked for pain medicine. Actually, I forgot to say that part. So thank you, Penny, for mentioning that. So no, I was on pain medicine, very much so. I was coherent, this and that, but my dad came and visited me every single day because he worked literally on the base where I was at because I was in a military hospital. My brother and sister were not allowed to visit me. I don't know why, but they weren't. My grandparents came all the time. Family, friends came all the time. My mother came twice. That's for a whole different story. She came twice, the day I had surgery and another time, but it is what it is. That's her problem, not mine. But no, I was able to go hang out with other kids that were there for whatever reason. I remember there was a girl across from me that had broken her jaw. So her mouth was wired and we had a shared room at the time. So she was across from me. But no, so I had the surgery and the whole time after I had the surgery, I had to keep my foot like this. So imagine you're standing and like this. And they basically told me, now imagine telling a 9-year-old this is pretty darn traumatic. Okay. You have to keep your foot like this because if you go like this, you could rip the skin and then we're going to have to start over.
Right.
That's pretty dang traumatic. I remember them telling me that and thinking to myself, so if I move my foot, the skin could rip and then I'm in trouble. You don't want to tell a 9-year-old that. I mean, they had to. I get it.
Yeah.
But still, it was very scary. So the whole time in my mind, while I was going through physical therapy and this and that and learning how to walk again, my mind was, I don't want to bend my foot. I don't want to flex it because it's going to rip.
Where did they graft the skin from?
From my backside. The right side, if anybody wants to know, to be very specific, the right butt cheek got scraped. As my brother likes to say, they took a cheese slicer and they went bleep, bleep. I don't really care. People are like, aren't you embarrassed? I'm like, it's the facts. I'm like, if you've ever been through a burn, they're taking it from your thigh. They gotta take
it from somewhere.
They're taking it from your lower backside. And they decided because I was a young girl, the best option, the best skin was to do it there. Because, little kids don't want to have, less scars that they have on their body, they said, is easier for them.
Oh, Matt says the butt heals the quickest.
Yeah. Yes, so it was lots of, Penny says I have a butt foot. Pretty much I do, Penny. So the surgery happened and everything was good. Then once we went through that, I had to go through weeks and months of hard physical therapy. First it was in a pool where they would try to get me to flex it, or at least not necessarily flex it, but they wanted me to stand. Because, when you're in the pool, it's less weight. So they would put me in the water. It was basically like water therapy. So I'd be in the water. And then it was little at a time. They would have me flex it, I was scared. I remember being so scared and crying that I didn't want to do it because in my mind, if I flex my foot, it's going to rip. That's literally was in my mind.
Yeah.
So I had to basically learn how to walk again because the skin on my foot was so tight, I couldn't flex it. And then I didn't want to put anything down. Now, to this day, I don't have feeling. I have feeling in my toes, the bottom of my foot, the back and the heel of it, and partially on the bottom sides, like right here. But the whole top of it, like from here, like if this was my toes. So basically from here all the way up to here, I have no feeling. So if I was sitting on a couch next to you or wherever and I don't have shoes and socks on and I'm not paying attention and you come in with a marker or a needle or a marker or a pen and you start to color on it, I'm not going to feel it.
So you could be like my little coffee table. I could put my coffee.
You could. I wouldn't feel it.
Little coaster.
Right. Pretty much. So I was able to go home, but that did require my parents to have to keep an eye on it. They still had to put medication on.
Oh, sure.
They had to put medication on that. They had to keep it hydrated. We had to put medication or lotion of some special medicated lotion where the skin graft was. So I wasn't able to sleep on my backside. I wasn't able to do certain things. I wasn't able to step on it. When I was at home, I don't remember what happened, but I got a massive infection in my foot.
Ugh.
Back to the hospital again. I went for them to this time refight the infection. And that's when they kept me in a little bit longer, because at that point they decided, we have her here. We're going to do the physical therapy with her while she's here. So basically, while I was there, I had to learn to go up and down stairs. I had to learn to walk. I had to walk hallways. I had to stand on it. Putting on a sock was probably the most painful thing to do.
Yeah.
It hurt to put socks on. I can't tell you why. Putting on a shoe was very painful. I did do this in the summertime, well, in the spring, which sucked because I was having swimming lessons, which I already knew how to swim, but the local high school offered it for free. So my parents were like, go for it. And I missed it. And I remember being very devastated about not getting to do that. But
Aw.
I mean, I already knew how to swim. I grew up in the country. I had a lake in my backyard. So I was,
Yeah.
you know, I was a child where they just threw you off and you were good to go.
But it was still noted. Like, you know, you still know.
Yeah. And so it was, so learning how to do all that was hard. And I remember coming home. Okay, this actually might make me cry. Coming home, my brother said when I came home, when he first saw me, he said to me, or actually he said when I got older, he said, when Dad came home from the hospital without, he goes, I actually thought you died.
Oh my God.
So that actually might make me cry. But yeah, so I mean, it was hard, you know, because he didn't know. And he, for the longest time, felt responsible for this because he is the one that said, let's go out there and do it. He is my older brother. But I've told him in the past, I'm like, you don't have to be responsible for this. I was like, I was just as responsible for going out there. I said, but, you know, I was like, don't ever. But for the longest time, he was very angry with himself. He's like, if I hadn't taken her out there, if I hadn't done this, you know, she wouldn't have gotten burned. So he did feel responsible for it, but I was never mad at him for it. And I told him that. I wasn't mad at my sister. I wasn't mad. It was just part of my life. Then I'm trying to think.
I think like people like always want to so when you want to blame yourself, like he wanted to blame himself, you wanted to blame yourself, whatever, it's like the solution to the problem, and there really doesn't have to be that. There, you know, it happened.
Yeah,
there doesn't have to be fingers pointed.
But no, I mean, I do have to get skin. I do have to put the highest sunblock on my foot to prevent cancer. I do get checkups. It did take me about 2 years for me to light a fire stick, obviously a match, because that's obviously what we had back in the day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it, and I was scared. And my dad said to me one day, he's like, you have to do this. And I was like, I don't want to. And he's like, I know you don't want to, but he goes, but you have to learn how to do this because you've got to get over the fear of fire. That's just how terrified I was. After being burned, I didn't want to start a fire. I didn't want to put a log in the fireplace. I didn't want to, even like, you know, when you have a wood burning, like our house growing up, the only source of heat was a wood burning fireplace. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to be in the same room as it, if that tells you how traumatized I was. Because it was scary just knowing like that fire that happened out there did that to me. And it took me a long time to get over it. And I mean, obviously I'm still very cautious about it. That's like one thing, like if I'm at events and they're having like fires, you know, fire pits, I will stand back and then watching people be funny, this or that. And I'm like, you guys, please don't do that. Please don't do that. I remember being at an event, I don't remember what it was for, but the adult kids were being funny. And I just was like, can you guys not do that? And they're like, why? And I was like, I suffered a 3rd and 4th degree burn when I was a kid and almost lost my leg. And they're like, oh, we're sorry. And then they kind of just backed off. And I'm like, just please don't do that. That's all I'm asking. But so no, I am grateful that obviously my foot didn't get amputated. I'm grateful for the nurses and I'm actually I'm grateful for everybody. The burn surgeon that was there that was literally leaving and they brought him back.
Did he remain your doctor?
I don't remember. I honestly don't. I just remember there being lots of people all the time. There was one nurse, I remember when I got home, my dad was watching TV and the news because I couldn't do anything. And he said, hey, Nick. I was like, what? And he said, wasn't that your doctor? Now, remember back in the day, they showed anything and everything on TV. And this gentleman had basically unalived his entire family and his wife and himself, minus his son, who was my age, because the son was able to go through a bathroom window and run to the neighbor's house. And the only reason why is because they showed a picture of him. They showed the kid, obviously, because back in the day they could show anything as it was live happening. And I was like, yeah, that was him. And you're like, well, how do you guys know? You're going to say to me, how do I know? Well, here we go. Because
that was the burn doctor?
No, this was one of my nurses. This is one of my nurses.
Got it. Okay,
he was a nurse. They had mentioned that he was a nurse at the hospital, but I remember because he was from like Pakistani or Indian descent and he had a turban on his head.
Oh, okay.
I always remembered I had a nurse that was really funny and he had a turban on his head.
And he did that to his family.
Yes. And I just remember like thinking, oh my gosh, that's just like, so, everything that they go through, you just never know. But I mean, I just remember constantly being checked on, being taken care of in the hospital, just watching the nurses that were like, some of them had never experienced seeing a burn before. Some never experienced this type of a trauma. I mean, even
especially that type of a hospital.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a military hospital, so yes and no. But I think, I think back then a lot of the burn patients probably went to like the shot, like the trauma center or whatever. But this was the nearest hospital for us. And my dad was like, I'm taking her to where I know. We're going straight to the military hospital because again, he was in the military.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, that's pretty much my story. There was, it's
very traumatizing.
It was very traumatizing. I mean, obviously being 9, being away from your friends, can't doing anything, not being able to see your family for the ones that were able to come, and then having your life turned upside down, listening to being told, well, if you move your foot, the skin's going to rip off. And, that's very traumatizing for a kid. I mean, traumatizing for anybody. But when you tell a child that if you flex your foot and I literally will always remember them telling me if I flex my foot, I'm literally going to rip. Now, just for reference, if you look at my feet, I don't have full motion. So if you take your foot and you flex it like this, I can't go like this. So if I take my foot, I can probably go like so. This is my foot. Usually you can go like that. I can probably go like this. So I don't have that full where I can't go fully like that. If you take your foot and go like that, I can't do that.
Right. You lost some of that.
Part of it's just part of what happened because I lost some of
because of the tendons and the muscle and the muscles
and everything. Yeah. I don't remember how many stitches I got. I do know they were the dissolvable kind. I did try to ask my mom and dad back in the day. They could remember. My dad did feel that it was he definitely said it was more than 500. He did tell me that part.
Wow.
He did know that it was up there, at least 500 is what he said. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a smooth skin graft. They did a good job, but it definitely has, how do I explain it? It's
rough marks. Like rough marks.
It has rough marks, but it has little ridges, little dips in it. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, but I think from whatever they had to work with what they had,
so
right?
From what I understand is basically they kind of had to they had to cut it into small sections and they had to glue part of it. They had to put it together. Is what they had to do. They had to put it together because of how it was. So even if they took a strip off, because it was a majority, 90% of my foot, that small section isn't just going to cover it. They had to do some they had to do some crazy stuff to honestly.
Matt said they're called scar ridges.
Yeah, it's all the way across the entire foot. So they saved my foot.
Tell us about school. So what happened? I mean, you're 9 years old. You're supposed to be in school, or it's summer, or
it was summer. So it was
that was it. You were ready to go back.
So it was May. It was May. I was homeschooled, guy. It was homeschooled, so it didn't really matter. I was homeschooled, so it didn't matter. But it was in May, April, May-ish. I remember. No, I wasn't. Obviously, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do a single thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't even allowed to go outside. If I was to go outside, I had to have the sock on. Then I had to have a blanket over that because they didn't want any.
Yeah. Because it was healing. It was healing.
They didn't want anything on it. So I was pretty much stuck in the house. We had a bunk bed, my sister and I did, and obviously I would have been on the top. And I had to sleep on the couch because just moving me up and down would have been just way too much. And it was easier for my parents to take care of me if I was on the couch. So I literally slept on the couch for like 6 months because I couldn't go up and down. I was just stuck there.
Yeah. I'm sure you read a lot of books.
I read a lot of books, yes. But it was hard. And again, this is my story, and I know there are people out there that have it worse. Like, they've lost limbs because of this, or their burns are 1,000 times worse than mine. And I know every story is different, but I was surrounded by good people that helped me get through this. I can't imagine people not being surrounded by people or kids not having that people around them to be there for them and to help them. I mean, I remember my little sister, she would come up and hang out with me on the bed. So we would play together. Or my best friend who lived across the street, and, we lived in the country, y'all. So it was like, when I say across the street, it's like down the dirt road, and then it crossed over. She would come out and hang out for hours and hours with me because I couldn't do anything. I just was stuck on a bed. It was like, you can't lay on your backside. You can't lay on your back. You can't sit down. You can't lay on your stomach. So you're kind of like,
weird position.
I was always on my left side. I couldn't be on my right side. I had to always be on my left side. But then, I found ways to make it work.
Yeah. And I think, not to say, but you're younger, you're a little more resilient. Like now, if I had to lay on one side and not the other, everything would start aching. You know what I mean?
Probably, right? Yeah, no. So it was lots of, a lot of medication, a lot of physical therapy.
And physical therapy was in the house, out of the house? Your mom had to take you, your dad?
It was in the hospital. A lot of it was at the hospital while I was there. Okay. I believe I was there for 6 weeks just because they kept me there for the physical therapy because they were so afraid. Like, when I tell you they did not want me to bend my foot, I'm not joking you. Like, they had bandages on where my foot like literally was on a piece of wood that was like this. And then I was bandaged in so I could not move it. Like, they did not want me to move that thing to save my life.
Yeah.
When it was time, they literally took me to where the physical therapy room was and where the big giant pool hot tub looking thing was. And they literally had me sitting on something and they were taking it off. And then they had a nurse holding my foot like this so that I wouldn't move. And they had another one holding my leg down so that I wouldn't budge it, so that they could take it off. And then they just gradually put me in the water.
And that's when...
And then I was able, then it was basically just step on it. Because they know when you're in the water, you're not going to jerk as fast. And so it was a lot of, I had to learn how to walk again. Yes, I had to learn how to walk again. But I learned how to walk again in a pool first. That was the first place they put me, was in a pool. And then obviously the actual physical therapy tables, having me go like this. And it was I just remember it was always very like, okay, move it a little bit. Going up and down stairs was very scary. For me. I don't know why, but it was very scary. Walking hallways was scary because, again, back in my mind, don't want to rip the skin off.
Yeah.
They were I know that they don't mean to scare kids, but sometimes I think they have to tell you that to get you to listen. Like when it comes to my kids, I always tell them, if you do this, we're going to end up in the hospital or you're going to end up dead. You make the choice, because I have boys. And they're like, okay. Like, I don't sugarcoat it with my kids. I'm very honest with them because I've been there and I know what could happen. So I don't let them think that it's, if you jump off the top of the stairs to the bottom and you think you can go down 13 stairs and you're going to survive, we got another problem.
Yeah.
So, I remember the family friend who was the nurse. She did feel bad, but at the time she didn't know. She just was like, oh, Nick got burned. And she's like, oh, okay, just, put water on it. But I don't think she realized the severity of it. Had she realized it, she would have been at my house. Because when I tell you she was like literally 5 minutes away. Yeah. She was 5 minutes away. It's like up the hill, downhill. Maybe she was more like 10, but I know she could have made it to her house at 5. She would have hauled butt. So, but does anybody have any questions? But that's pretty much my story about, childhood trauma. It did take me several years to start a fire, to be near a fire. I'm sure that they probably did, Penny. Penny asked, did they document it with photos and did I ever see anything? I did not see, I wasn't allowed to see anything. They made it clear that they didn't want me to see it. Every time I would try to look up, they would ask me to lay back down. And that's fine. Obviously, I got to see it after the fact, after the surgery. But because prior to surgery, okay, it was open. You could see everything. And so that probably would have traumatized a child more, knowing that your body part is supposed to look one way and now it does not. And just to reiterate, the time that I got burnt to the time that I had surgery, to me, it felt like forever and a day, but to my understanding, it was like less than a week and a half. And it was really just seeing what they needed to do.
Yeah.
So it was not that. I just remember being in there forever and a day. Forever and a day, being 9, all by yourself.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah. But we thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Hopefully, you're going to get it out on some of our other socials, and
I will. I hope I didn't gross anybody out. I was very careful on the graphic part of it, just because of TikTok. But
yeah, of course.
I mean, the graphic parts are just what I was told, again, by my dad. And then obviously the hospital staff, because obviously I wasn't allowed to see it. My dad did see everything because he was standing right behind me the whole time that we were in the back in the trauma room, with the ER, in the back room. My grandfather was in the lobby the whole time. So my dad was there and he did see everything. So he did tell me that it was pretty gross. I'm like, oh, okay.
And did your grandma end up coming to the hospital?
Yeah, my grandma did. Yeah, my grandpa brought her back a couple of days later. They were always there because they were always going off and doing something. I will never get the memory of burnt out of my memory. I do know what that very much smells like. Yeah. And it is not a good smell to be around. I will not lie to you. I remember even that day when I was in the hospital in the ER, they were literally taking tweezers and pulling out the burnt strings of the burnt sock, the burnt flesh, the burnt muscle, the burnt tent, whatever they had to take out. The shoe, because literally the shoe melted off my foot. The bottom half of my shoe was there. Well, it was there until my brother picked me up and threw me, and then obviously it was gone. Yeah. But people ask me, why did the bottom of my foot not get burned to the top? The only thing that I can personally think of, because I've never asked this question, is that the bottom half had had the rubber, the bottom of it, the sole, of the shoe, all the stuff, and so the top of it basically was, whatever my shoe was made out of. I don't remember which type of shoe I was wearing. More the shoe for all I know,
flammable, so to say.
So that burnt faster than whatever was on the bottom. But even the day after. A couple days even after, 2 or 3 days after, I remember they would come in and very, very carefully continue for at least a couple of days, removing more and more stuff. And I remember they would look at me as they were doing it just to see if I would react to it. But literally, I was sitting there like this, what's going on? Just carrying on a conversation because I couldn't feel anything. I literally could not feel anything. So I was like, you could do whatever you want to do. I wasn't feeling anything. And then it was lots of saline solution and this and that. I do remember that whatever they used, maybe it was the burn smell. I just remember when they put the saline solution on, it smelled disgusting. So I'm assuming it was the saline solution or whatever they were using to clean out. And it was more of the burnt stuff that was just, I do remember that. Makes me want to gag now. I do remember that now that we're talking about it. But
Matt said the rubber sole and the material saved the bottom of your foot.
Yeah, and the toes.
Yeah.
And the sides, but it was very fast, y'all, for the ones who want to know. It was very fast. I stepped on it like this. I went down like this. I screamed. My brother literally turned around, picked me up, and he threw me. So he's 5 years older than me. So, yeah. because we were kind of on the edge. So it's not like, we had to go far, but like we were cruising the edge. We were working our way up.
Yeah.
But we were on the edge of the thing.
Oh, goodness. So. Like your sister was right behind you. She could have been the next step, God forbid.
Yeah, she was, I feel like she was on a log. I do feel like she was on a log, but I don't remember where I don't know where she was, but if my memory serves me correctly, she actually was on the burn pile.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is my story of having I did have, when I was in nursing school, an instructor tell me that, because she was like, oh yes, the highest grade burn that you can get is a 3rd degree burn. And I was like, that's not true. She's like, yes, it is. I was like, no, I am a survivor of a 4th degree burn. And she's like, no, that's not true. I'm like, it's true. And she's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh. I went home and I did my little research, because thank God Google existed at the time.
Yeah.
Went home and I asked the parents again, and they're like, yeah, no, you did. And I did my research and it said, yes, it's rare, but it's there. And I came back to school. I was like,
here you go.
I was like, I remember telling my friend, she was laughing. She was cracking up. She's like, did you give it to her? I'm like, yeah, I gave it to her. She's like, what'd she say? She's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, lady. I was there. I know what I got. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, exactly. So, you went through the trauma. You know what
the trauma. I did. And so it breaks my heart when I see kids, or not just kids, just anybody in general that gets burned, because it's a pain. Like, when you burn your finger or you burn your hand, right, on the stove, that's like a 2nd degree burn, right? That's you need to take it. And I want you to like, imagine that being 1,000 times worse. And that pain that you have from touching the stove or touching the iron, and you have the pain for like 2 days. You're just like, right now, I want you to take that, intensify that by like 1,000. And then it just yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Are there any questions? I don't have any on my side. So
let's see. Anybody have any questions?
No, I mean, yeah, no. So
yeah, does anybody have any questions?
That's my story. Yeah,
well, thank you for sharing it, because
you're very welcome.
Sometimes
I don't think I've ever actually told the whole story ever like this in one sitting. Usually it's just I give tidbits here and there. I don't know. Usually, I mean, a lot of people that I know growing up already know the story, but they've also either were there when it happened, or they just have heard tidbits over time that it just eventually eventually somehow the entire story got told. But I've actually never sat down and actually ever told anybody the entire thing.
Heather, she was 9.
It's not that I don't want to. It's just not something that I.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not like we go out for coffee with somebody and let me share my burn story,
Yeah. So, yeah, it was hard. Yeah. I mean, it's not fun, but I do get my regular checkups. The people that want to know, yes, I have to go make sure that there's nothing funky going on. They make sure that all the skin is the same, this color that it should be. They make sure that nothing looks like normal. Obviously this happened when I was 9. And so far today, I've only ever had one scare, and I had a dry spot on my foot, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And they were just like, it's honestly nothing to be concerned about unless it gets worse. But they weren't concerned about it. So, but it does get very dry. And that's one thing that they did say would happen a lot, is that it will always get very, very dry. So every night before I go to bed, I'm constantly I always just put lotion on. I always put lotion on it.
Yeah.
Fonza says, do I have any big effects from the burn today? So yes, Fonza, I do. I know when it's going to rain. Because on my right foot, it actually will start to hurt really, really bad. Like if the weather's going to do some sort of a change, people will say that's not true. Oh, I can feel it. I don't know how to describe it, but the feeling in my foot changes, and it almost doesn't like hurt, but I have a very high tolerance for pain. Let's just for anybody that knows, I have extremely high. I am one of those people that in a nutshell that if I could have had a natural childbirth, I had C-sections, but if I could have, I would have. Let's just put it that. That's how strong my pain tolerance is. So I can feel a pain. I can feel not necessarily a pain, but it changes. It feels really weird, and that's when I know it's gonna start raining or the weather's gonna start changing. Like not sunny, but like rain or something.
Yeah, that's what. So Matt said your skin is more sensitive to biometric change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Heather wants to know: do you still fear fire?
Yes and no. I can start a fire. I don't have a problem starting that. My dad did make me get over that probably about, I feel like it was 2 years after the fact. It could have been a year, but I feel like it was 2 years. He said it's time for me. And I remember like lighting it and going like this. Now, this isn't going to do jack diddly snot, right? You got to like hit it hard. And I just remember going like this. He's like, got to go harder. And I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I can do fires. I don't like fire pits. I will stay far away from them as possible. I don't like it when people are thinking they're being funny around fire pits and they're horsing around.
Yeah.
It makes me very nervous. But other than that, I mean, I just stay away from fire, to be honest with you. I just don't like fire pits. I want nothing to do with the fire pit. I mean, I don't want to throw a log in there. I mean, I would if I had to, I would. But I'm not running to go over and put a log in a fire pit if that's what you're asking.
I would have thought you would have had maybe a little bit more fear of it, but I guess because when you think about it, you have to cook and fire is cooking. You have a fireplace in your home to keep it warm. It's just part of.
I think it's because growing up, we had a wood burning fireplace and my dad wanted me to get over that fear. Like, when they say, if you fall off a horse, you got to get back on it again. Or I've fallen off horses and I got back on them, but, obviously I wasn't hurt falling off a horse, or I wasn't hurt when I fell off a bike, but a fire is something completely different. And he knew that he needed to help me. So my dad was like, first step was lighting a match. That was the first step. And then it was very carefully. Then it got to a point where I could prep the fire, which means put the newspaper in there, crumble it up, put it in there, put the logs in there. I could do that part of it. But the minute that it lit, I wasn't having anything to do with it.
Yeah.
No. But I can now. I can. Obviously, I've gotten over that because I'm obviously smart enough not to injure myself. But yeah, no, I really don't like fire pits, to be honest with you. I want nothing to do with them.